Hey designers, welcome back for episode 41. 41. I can't even believe it. Of AI for Interior Designers podcast. Man, what started as just kind of like I'm just gonna talk about stuff. If anybody wants to listen, that's cool. It has turned into 41 episodes already. I can't even believe it. But here we are in February, and I thought that today would be kind of fun to go through like the interior design workflow and process and talk about where currently I would use AI in this process. Okay. So I have talked about this before, but it was last year. And honestly, not much has changed. Things have improved. There's new programs out there that can definitely help with certain parts of our process and to like make things faster. And of course, just in general, AI has just gotten better. But I am here to tell you that like the parts that I've always enjoyed doing, the design parts, the like just like figuring it out, I think which is a lot of what us designers like to do, like the Tetris, the figuring out, the flows, the restraints, the restrictions that we might have on a project and working within those parameters to create something beautiful for somebody. I None of that has changed for me, at least. AI does not, and I don't foresee replace any of that stuff. But there's certain parts of my workflow that have just gotten better, and also like on the back end of business, there's so many tools out there now. So I figured I would just kind of talk about that, where we're at with all these things. And like I've been saying, I do have great guests coming. I am strategically planning when those will be released, because I have something else, like I've been telling you guys for a little bit, coming out with a very fun like process workshop type thing. So all of that will kind of feed into each other, but that will be around KBIS and around market time this spring. So stay tuned. Lots of fun stuff coming your way for that. Are you going to KBIS? Let's just take a pause for a second. Tell me in comments. I would love to see you there. I will be on the next stage on the 25th, and now I've like lost which day that is of the week. I think it's Tuesday, I want to say. So I'll be on the next stage talking about AI. Great panel. We've got some great people on that. But if you're going to KBIS, hope to see you there. I'll be there for all 3 days. I just booked my flights last night. I had the hotel locked in, but just booked the flights. My husband always comes with me to this too. In Vegas, we just have a good time. And we're going to go to the Sphere on Thursday. So anyway, that was a little tangent. But I hope to see you guys there. So let's dive into like the interior design workflow and process. And I'm just going to take a step back and say the reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because I get daily requests at this point, which is fabulous and I love it, to do, like training sessions. So for groups, for in person, for virtual, for whoever. Okay. There's like so many different groups and agencies and businesses and firms that I am just like, I didn't even know they existed. And they're like, can you come teach us AI? And I'm like, yeah, sure. What do you want to talk about? And they don't know. So that's totally fine. Like that is my job, is to be like, here, this is where I would start. But when somebody's like, teach me all the things about AI, it's like, well, what do you do? Like, because finding the place in your process that AI can assist with to streamline, to improve, whatever that might be, that is the first thing that we need to determine before it's just teach me all of AI, because it's like, I can't. I can't. The amount of knowledge that I have from being in this space for the past 2 years is just infinite. And I know that I talk very fast. Sorry about that. Also not sorry, because it's just kind of what I do. So slow down the time on it if I talk too fast for you. But I'm excited about what I teach and what I know, and I just want to share all of the information with you. And I know that sometimes people walk away from my trainings and they're like, oh my gosh. But if I could like just preface this by saying, what I can teach you in an hour and what I can teach you in 3 hours is the smallest fraction of my knowledge when it comes to AI. And I just am so passionate about finding your areas that you want to improve and then looking for the best solution and tool to solve that problem. And it's not the same for everybody, okay? We all do something different. We're all very unique. We all have current programs that we're using that work for us, and some don't, and we're like, is there something better out there? But my job is not to advise you to like go on a tangent and change your whole business model. Like, I want to see what you're working with and how we can integrate that or find the AI that might already be inside of your programs and then like connect the dots there. That's what I like to do. So today I will tell you kind of where and when in my design process and client projects that I would be using AI. I will say, since I've started doing this, just full disclosure, I'm not taking on a lot of design projects right now. I do not have the bandwidth. I don't want to let down my clients. I know last year things just kind of blew up where like I was traveling, I was doing workshops, I was doing trainings, and I feel like I couldn't give the best level of service to my clients. And I don't want to go through that again just because I'm so busy. And I also have two small kids. So this year I've kind of pulled that back. I wrapped up some of the projects that I was working on last year. And now, if I take one, it's going to be like maybe one or two this year, just because I have to be fair to myself, my family, and the people that I'm teaching and my clients. So as I'm telling you this, I'm coming from a place of I've done this. I would do this with my clients, but right now I currently am not taking any new clients because I don't have the bandwidth. Okay. So also with that being said, I talk to designers every single day. I do one-on-one calls, I do training sessions every single day. At this point, there might be like a Friday or a Monday that I haven't, that I don't have a training. And that's just because I block those off for like CEO days. So I am really well versed with designers that might even do things very differently than me, and where AI could also assist them. So I'm going to be throwing in kind of some little anecdotes from other designers that I've worked with or other firms that I've worked with where I saw potential for AI in their process. So maybe that'll also help with what you're doing. And the reason why I love this is because I love design and technology. If you know anything about me, if you listen to the first episode, I have been doing this virtually since I left my corporate job after college in the furniture industry, where I worked my way up to management by the time I was 23. So I was managing multi-million-dollar showrooms in the furniture industry and not designing, but always pursuing the tech part of it. Like, hey, can we like show this client a render in real time? Or, how can we make this better? How can we improve this? So coming from the furniture sales and also design degree and doing what I've done with eDesign Tribe, selling that to my Doma and the software and the trainings, I understand not only what I do, but also a big part of just the industry as a whole. So I hope that my perspective is unique and interesting, and I am always happy to answer any questions as they pertain to you and your process. So feel free to comment on this video if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening on a podcast. You can also shoot me an email, okay? And just go to my website. Happy to answer any of those as well. Okay, so let's get started here. Let's start at the beginning with like a new client, right? So no matter how this client comes to you, whether it's a, inquiry on your website or a referral, typically you have a conversation before you take on the project, right? This is something that either you're going to do virtually, for me, pretty much always virtually, or you're going to go in person to a site visit and you're going to see the space or, the plans or whatever, if they're already getting started and then they're bringing you in. So the first initial contact, some would call a discovery call. I've never done discovery calls. It's just not my jam, but I don't have enough hours in the day to do free sessions. So I, they'll typically pay me, or like we're pretty solid that they're going to hire me, and I'll, turn that conversation into a proposal, a formal written proposal. So how am I doing that? I'm recording it. So it's very easy for me to be able to record something and get the transcript using Zoom, first of all. So Zoom has transcripts that you can just grab from your conversations that are being recorded. Or I use Fathom Note Taker or Lindy. There's two different ones. Sometimes I like to see like who's better and have them both join my meetings. But I use Fathom Note Taker. I will link that below as well. And Lindy, which Lindy has a note taker, it has a transcriber, but it's also like kind of a Zapier hybrid. It is awesome and very cool. My only caveat with that is that my note taker always comes a minute late. So Fathom beats them to the punch. And I'm like, well, Fathom's here on time today. So Fathom gets to record the meeting. But anyway, that's one way that you can do it. If it's an in-person consultation, I recommend that you get Plod. I have done a episode here and also more detailed trainings through the daily training program, which you can check out aifrontierdesigners.com/the daily, or it's just on the homepage. But I have talked about note takers and how they are golds because transcripts are gold for AI. So when you can take the words that you have spoken or a conversation that you've had with a client or a team member or whatever, and you can take that entire transcript and summarize it to turn it into something different, that is in itself like the best and strongest use case currently for AI for business. Like think about how many notes we take. I know like I still get in meetings with people and they don't have a note taker or don't know what it is, and I'm like, oh my gosh, go get one now. And then the next time they meet, they're like, Jenna, this note taker, like best thing in my life. And I'm like, see, I told you, like you don't need to take notes, you don't miss anything. I do still take notes as I'm like writing and things that I want to remember to like say or whatever, key highlights. But after the conversation, I go and I grab that transcript, or in Fathom, there's a summary. There's also action items that it calls out. You can send it to the person that you met with. Or on Plod, Plaud, which is just on Amazon. You can grab one of those. I will also link that here. But you can record that transcript in person or as a two-way phone call. If you hook it up to your phone, goes to the Plot app, and then you can grab, the transcript. Now, what do we do with the transcript after? You would basically take that and run it through ChatGPT, and you would say, here's what I want to do with this. So depending on your goals, maybe you write a proposal, or maybe it was the kickoff conversation and you just kind of went right for it and you need to develop a client project profile. So all of the wants, dislikes, likes, all that, whatever was captured in that first conversation, you can summarize it and put it into a nice, neat, clean brief or write-up about that project and, the scope and the goals. Or you simply upload a copy, or you create a custom GPT that is for writing proposals. But you can upload a copy of your format for proposals that you typically follow and say, turn this transcript into this format of proposal, and then it'll write it for you. And then hopefully by then you've gotten a template in Canva or something where you can just pop in, fresh pictures and the details for this particular client. So that in itself is such a time saver. I do not like writing proposals. I want to be able to get that over with as fast as possible to get to the fun stuff. But that is an incredible starting point. Not only is note takers, an awesome way to start a project, but every time you meet with somebody, whether it is a contractor, a builder, the client, anybody on your sales team, any of your reps, whatever that is, record it. Always disclose, like we learned that during the Zoom era during COVID, right? When everybody was on there, where we were like, okay, I need to, it's automatically recording. People know at this point that like, it's probably going to be recorded for quality assurances, right? I mean, dating back to the phone calls that we would make to call anybody at a company, it would always say it's being recorded for quality assurance. Same difference. You run a business. You want to do the best for your business. One question that I get a lot is, well, do people talk differently when they know that they're being recorded? And my answer is, I think a lot of people got used to knowing, of course, that they were being recorded during COVID. And if you feel like you have to change what you're saying, that feels weird to me. Like it kind of feels fake to me that if you know you're being recorded, you're like going to speak differently or talk differently. Like it's okay. Like just be yourself about it and say what you need to say. And it's just gonna, be on record. So I don't know. I have found that nobody speaks differently in my experience when they know that they're being recorded than how they normally would if they weren't being recorded. With that being said, my sister is an attorney and also uses Plot, also always discloses in the beginning, then writes it into the contract after that. And there's sensitive information. I've talked to accountants as well that said, well, my clients, they've got a lot going on and they need to talk to me about that, financial advisors. And I totally get that, when you're talking about certain things. But I think your job as a professional is to be like, look, this is confidential. Like, I'm not going to go and like share, your life story with everybody because I have it on record and I have it on transcript. I, I, that's not what this is for. This is so that I can make sure that I am doing the best job that I can for you and that I don't miss any details going forward. Okay. If you phrase it and frame it properly, I think you can put people at ease if that is a concern. All right. Anyway, continue to, throughout the process, use transcripts, use these recording options so that you don't miss anything. And also everything is written down and can kind of follow you through the project. Hopefully you're documenting like notes and transcripts throughout in your CRM or your project management software, or wherever you're keeping your files together. Okay. Now that leads me to CRM. Well, not necessarily CRM, but project management. So my next step, if I had just gotten a proposal, would be to start a project. I use my Doma. My Doma has an assistant called Max that is AI Assist, and this helps you to launch projects in a matter of minutes. Okay. So what I do is I take the client profile, which should include things like, budget, time frame, client name, address, and then from there, I also will extract in comma space, these are the rooms. Those will eventually turn into views, which is how I separate every single product into different rooms. Okay. So I write down comma space and say, here's the views. If there's any file folders that I want to open up right from the get-go, I will put that in there. That could be something like construction documents or before pictures or ideas, that type of thing. And all of this is launched in a matter of minutes using templates that you've already set up for maybe a contract, maybe a questionnaire. You might even put a booking link in there so that they can book future appointments. All of that is templated out. So once I start a new project, the AI kind of takes over and I tell it what I want, what to set up, and it saves me a solid half hour to an hour of individually going through and setting up views, setting up folders, getting the project launched. So the initial groundwork setup is all coming from the initial phone call or proposal that I have from the client. Okay, so that is the kickoff. It is seamless. It is transcript to reformat in ChatGPT into a format that I can upload to Max, which does have a character limit, so that's fine. So I just put it into Max and it launches the kickoff portal for me. So good to go. So that is, there's two ways that I would be using AI functionality with just onboarding and starting a new project. Okay. So the next thing would be like, just organizing thoughts, getting ideas together, brainstorming, that type of thing. You can do that in ChatGPT if you'd like to, if you want to research something, if you want to even do design boards, like conceptual design boards. Now, ChatGPT is a language model. So if you ask questions, you're going to get like written replies. Of course, Dolly is included inside the Pro, which means that it can also generate images. But let's all be real here. And if you've ever seen a ChatGPT Dolly image, you know that thing is wild. So it's always got a glow. It just looks fake. There's an excessive amount of accessories typically, or something on the wall. However, those create really incredible words for prompts that you can use in other generative AI programs like Midjourney or Visual Electric, which is my favorite. So if you were to start the ideation and maybe like, mood or vibe or color palette conceptualization, that is where you would then have conversations if you wanted to with ChatGPT and be like, here's the project, here's the goals, here's the color palette I have in mind, here's some materials. Let's start with a sample board. Or what colors would you recommend? Do you have any paint color suggestions from this brand or whatever? And then it can give you them, but it's a starting point. Okay, so it's interesting. It can or cannot be part of your process. Honestly, like sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. And if you find that like you're very creative and you just kind of know what you want already, you might use it to craft prompts and be like, here's something that I have in my head for the vision of this space, but I don't know how to get an image, and I don't want to use, Pinterest or House or Instagram and find other designers' work to showcase. I want to come up with an image that doesn't exist yet for the idea that I have for this project. That would be when you use generative AI programs like Midjourney and Visual Electric. So whether or not you are using ChatGPT as like a little design assistant type thing to ideate and like get some ideas for stuff, you can also use it to create really good prompts for those other programs to envision what you might already be thinking for the space. And it'll save you time on trying to find that imagery to show your client, to be like, what do you think about this direction, right? So I think a lot of designers have always kind of, and obviously not all of them, I don't really do this. It depends on the project, but I have never really done this where I go out and I find other designers' work as inspiration and then put that into like a mood board or something. I always skip that. Like, if I have an idea, I generally will like find it, and then I've always just kind of rendered it if they paid for renders, which is so time consuming. So that's why this tool, and you render it and whatever, it takes a long time, and maybe they just don't even like the idea, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I just wasted 6 hours putting that room together. And then you're back at the drawing board. But if you can now like show the ideas way more specialized to the actual project, that can sell the idea, so that phase in the back and forth and the fees that are accrued with rendering and like showing the actual space to scale and accurately, that can really cut down on that time. Okay, so use these tools, generative AI, which would be the visual stuff, so Midjourney, Visual Electric. Of course, we got Dolly. We got 10 bajillion of these. Okay, like there's so many out there. I'm just referring to Visual Electric and Midjourney because they make amazing photos. Like they look so real. The other ones just don't, like, for the most part. They're weird, and they don't have the same control, and they look cartoony. And I know some designers actually prefer that because then they could say, well, obviously this is conceptual, and I just made this in AI real quick because I wanted to get this idea out, and that's totally fine. Like I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying, like, if you want more better imagery that isn't like 10 bajillion sink faucets in random places, Midjourney and Visual Electric. Highly recommend Visual Electric. But that's where you would be able to do those types of things to get the ideas out before moving forward. Okay. Now, other programs that you might consider using for stable diffusion, and there's quite a few. I will link my favorite below, but they are always like, this one's better, and this one's better, and this one's better at doing that. So my job is to figure out what's good for designers in our actual process and in a way that we would actually use it, so that you don't have to try them all and waste your money and your time. Okay, so I will link my favorite in the notes right now. It's my favorite. I spoke with the company last week, and I'm excited for their improvements because they started with just this one, like, if you take well, let me just tell you what it is first. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. So excited. So it's Stable Diffusion based. You may have heard me talk about this. I've had a few other programs on, but they basically will take an image, and it can be an elevation, it could be a line drawing, it could be a sketch, it could be a render of yours, it could be an empty space of the room or with the room and stuff inside. And basically what it does is you give it a prompt, very simple, or a style transfer where you have another image that you want like the colors and stuff to go over the top of your original image, and it'll apply it and it'll remember the lines that are in there, and it'll make those changes more accurately than if you were to generate an image from thin air using Visual Electric or Midjourney, which Midjourney does technically have edit, and it's very similar to this, though the control I have found is not as up to par with what I would be looking for. So this program, I created a concept board. I talked about this a couple episodes back, but I created a concept board, and I did that in 5 minutes in Photoshop using products that I actually had created in Visual Electric as prototypes, though you could use any products. Remove the background, kind of set up the stage so that it looked like a 2D plus is what I would call it. Some people refer to them as renders. They are not, but 2D plus design board or concept board. So it's showing the actual projects. I added a little floor and I added some wall, chandelier, and then some other furniture in there. Just like a one flat perspective of this design. I ran it through this program that is Stable Diffusion based. Stable Diffusion is basically what powers all of these apps that we're seeing that can do this. And this program had actually the best control that I've seen to date in a Stable Diffusion based program, where it takes your renders, your design boards, your line drawings, and your sketches and makes them realistic with control of the prompt. So what does that mean? The prompts can go a little rogue sometimes because you have to put in the words as to what you want to see. So let's say it's a kitchen elevation, so maybe a line drawing for a kitchen, and you want to say photorealistic kitchen with blue upper cabinets, white base cabinets, blue backsplash tile, whatever it's going to be. And then you kind of like describe a little bit, but you can't prompt too much. You got to keep them very simple. And the more simple they are, the better your results are going to be, in my experience. But when you do this, instead of changing a lot of the things, like even the actual products, if you're uploading a concept board, it maintains what they look like about 75%. Like there's minor little changes I've noticed on like some knobs and things like that, which I heard that this company is working to improve, and I love that. So it's really just trying to turn what looks like a two-dimensional concept board into a well-lit photorealistic rendering. Okay. Of course, they're not perfect by any means, but this program that I recently found, it honestly is pretty incredible in the control that it has to take the original photo, remember the lines, remember the products, and make it look real. Okay, in a matter of minutes. And this program didn't try and do everything for everybody in this space like I've seen a lot of other ones do. This one is like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this really well. So on their roadmap, that's what they're doing. They're just improving this feature, and they promote it to basically enhance on their website, at least, SketchUp renderings, CAD renderings, of course, Mydoma, visualizer renderings. So taking that quality and enhancing it. So that's another use case where, like, at the end of your project, after you render and stuff, you could take those 4K renders and you would be able to really upscale them to like show the grains and, textures and materials, and really make them elevated even further than a 4K or an 8K resolution that you could get from your renders. Okay, so that is also a capability of Stable Diffusion and other programs as well. But this one I'll link below is pretty excellent, and I can't wait to work that into some of my trainings coming up. Okay, so that's Stable Diffusion. That would be for ideation, for making things look more real as you're going through your concept boards before you even get to renders. So, of course, we're probably doing a floor plan at the same time that we're making our selections, right? For me, of course, I'm doing it in my Doma visualizer. And simultaneously, I am building construction documents. Regular floor plans, if you want them to look pretty, there's so many different formats you could download, but you can do like blocked CDs. You could do add all of your block information to it. If you wanted to do a full set, you could do that. You can do elevations. You can do reflected ceiling plans, lighting like layout plans. I mean, all the plans, like pretty much all the plans are in there. I may not use that for really detailed architectural stuff. If you're doing that type of thing, probably your current programs would be best for that. But for everything else, I'm using my Doma visualizer, and it's also linking to all the products that I'm tagging and putting into the project that I started using Max, right? And so in the beginning, if you recall, I said I set up the project portal. I'm using the Clipper extension that's on my browser. Every time I find a product, clip it, send it directly to whichever room in that project it's going to. I can also send it over to a design board, create my design boards right there, take that design board that I created right out, pop it into the Stable Diffusion program, make it look more real. And then, after I've gotten the approval on the products and stuff like that, if my client has paid for the rendering, which I have options that we don't always do renders, then I would also, give them the floor plans and the actual renderings of the space. Now, I want to just clarify here when I said the two are linked, because the rendering program technically is not like, you can't take a image that you've clipped to your project, right? So like if you're clipping, let's say a faucet, and it clips over to my Doma in the portal, I send it to a specific list for maybe kitchen or bathroom in that particular client's project. That list is something that I could then convert to a design board. I could put it into a proposal. I could make a invoice out of it. Like, there's so many things I could do with that. The only thing that I can't do is turn that faucet into a 3D model, okay, within the program. So I get that question a lot, where it's like, well, if I clip it, then is it also in my rendering program? And man, do I wish that was a thing. I've been wishing that was a thing for a long time. With that being said, if you caught my episode two episodes back, I believe, that is a thing now, where you can take a 2-dimensional image or up to 3 images of the product, upload it into this program I've been beta testing and itching to get out to you guys, which I will soon. And it will turn it into a AR model. So basically they can see it in their space on their phone, right? So like literally sitting there in the room, but it also will create a GLB file, meaning that you can upload it into the visualizer. I believe SketchUp, Chief Architect. Like, I mean, even if you can't take a GLB file, you can convert it to a format that you can import. So from a 2-dimensional image, we now have a 3D model, also a AR model at the same time, okay? So the immersion in the experience here that we can create in the My Doma visualizer, just because I'm biased here, would be 4K to 8K still image renderings. We could even upscale if we wanted to in the Stable Diffusion based programs when we're done. We're creating floor plans. We're creating construction documents, like full document sets. Let's see what else. We can do pretty floor plans if we wanted to, furniture floor plans, all that. Elevations, like I said. We can also do VR walkthrough tours. So not AR, where that's sitting like a product sitting in your room. Like you can put, a bed in the space and literally see it. To scale, by the way, that's a big important thing. To scale is what we're doing with this 2D to 3D image. And if we are also, creating all this in My Doma, we can also do a VR walkthrough tour, which I just said, that you can do on your computer or on your phone. And if you're using one of these inexpensive headsets for VR, you can actually get it on Amazon. It is not an Oculus, not anything crazy. You actually turn your phone sideways, pop it in the headset, and you can experience you can unlock it and view it in VR, and you can walk through the space. Okay. So many cool things. I have a training. I'm putting it together. Don't worry, it's coming. Well, you'll get all of this stuff in workflow with examples. Like, I'm going to show you all the things. It's coming out though. I just need to wait for a few of these programs to do this one thing that I'm waiting on, and then we're golden. Then I can share all of this new stuff with you. But you'll notice that in that render stuff that I was just talking about, I did not mention AI aside from the 2D to 3D program where you're taking the 2D image and turning it into a 3D model. That is an AI program that's outside of your regular visualizer. I will be sharing that later, but that is the only part. Everything else is me designing to scale for accuracy. I know that there's programs out there that can help with certain things like, floor plans. And I've seen those maybe work better for larger corporate type spaces where, it's office buildings and stuff like that. I've seen those programs and I think that those would probably work better, but I'm not seeing yet, and please, if you have something, let me know, a way for you to come up with different floor plans and arrangements that actually work for human beings right now. I'm just not seeing a program that is functional. There's a lot that do it, but I haven't seen anything where you can put in something and be like, here's what we want for the kitchen, and then it'll just kind of drop in a layout or shake it up and give you a few other layouts, and it's workable, right? So that for me, yeah, it's probably coming, and it's probably going to get way more accurate, and it's going to be inside of a lot of our programs, which is fine. But that's kind of what I went to school for, my program has now turned over to spatial design program at the college I went to. So they're really into planning and spatializing, I guess is the word, maybe. But laying out rooms so that they're set up for functionality and, makes sense for human beings. And AI is just not there yet. Okay. AI is not a human. While it was trained on all of our human stuff, it's still, there's this massive disconnect between the online space that it lives in and real world reality and how humans function in spaces. Is it only a matter of time? Yeah. But right now, you still need your brain to be able to figure out how a space is going to flow. So that's why I'm still hand rendering. I mean, I can't draw to save my life, guys, but when I do draw, I run those sketches through the Stable Diffusion based program so that they look like something. If you can draw, man, I'm so jealous, because the things you could be doing with AI, if you're a sketcher, oh my gosh, do I have some cool stuff to show you. But I can't draw. So that's where we're at. So I use these computer programs, and that's why I've always been kind of into this, is because I have to make up for where I lack, and that is in the sketching department. So tech has always been my jam. All right, so renders, you heard where I am using it, where I'm not. Now, on the back end of business, ChatGPT and Perplexity AI is another one that I like to use because it contains multiple models. It has ChatGPT, it has Claude by Anthropic. It's got other models in there too. And it's a research tool. It's a writing tool. It helps with so many different things. But I primarily use ChatGPT. I also know DeepSeek is out there. I actually have not even tried it for a few reasons, mostly because I wanted to kind of settle real quick and figure out, did they rip off ChatGPT? And if they did, it's kind of haha, because ChatGPT ripped off everybody else, without us knowing. So I'm just waiting to see how that plays out. But also DeepSeek is now included in Perplexity. So I have gotten a little taste. I just don't necessarily want to sign up myself. Just some security things that I'm I'm going to wait on that. But through a third party, through Perplexity, there's blocks there where I'm more comfortable using it and exploring it there. So anyway, when we're talking about like large language models though, such as ChatGPT or Perplexity, which isn't technically a large language model, but does stuff and includes large language models inside of it, what we're really talking about is how you can more efficiently run the back end stuff of your business, meaning automating or writing, checkpoint emails that would go out at certain points. You might need to connect something, through your CRM or through MyDoma if you wanted to, or Zapier, to basically be like, okay, when we reach this point, then, this happens. And this email triggers to send out, but you can write all of those emails in ChatGPT. You can also brainstorm. You can write, you can give it all of your project information and have it do a timeline for you. And then you can take that timeline, and I use Motion Calendar because it's AI infused. So I do AI time blocking inside. It also is my calendar booking link, so you can see all of my availability right at once, and book right there through one link. It takes all of my emails, so like my personal email and the calendar associated, and then Jenna Gaidusek Designs and AI for Interior Designers email, and everything's in one place. So I use that also because it has Gantt charts, it has projects that you can set up with subcategories. So kind of like, Asana, kind of like a lot of these, ClickUp, it's that, but simpler. I have used those other programs. I've used Monday as well. And I have stuck with, because I jump ship a lot on these things, which I think a lot of designers do. It's like, we don't give it enough time, or it's too confusing and we just are like, no. But I have been using Motion now for almost a year, and I really enjoy it. Now, am I putting everything in there that I should be doing? No, I really should be using it way more, but I like it because I can also invite team members and, third parties or whatever, so that they can see certain calendars and certain events, and I can assign them tasks, to-do lists, they can check them off, all that stuff. So while MyDoma has task management and calendars, I have one central place for, everything else. So like the daily trainings, what's coming up, what's on deck, what's planning, all of that stuff. And I would send it to specific people. So like, marketing people can see that stuff. And then I've got, if it's a design thing, then you can invite your design assistant, whatever. So if you're looking for timelines and you want to quickly make one, ChatGPT can help with that process. And then you can actually just download it as a CSV file. If you just ask it, hey, can you give me a format that I can take this schedule and upload it to my Google Calendar? You can do that. Okay. And then the Google Calendar, of course, would go over to Motion. So what, like minimal clicks, you can be planning, scheduling, and getting everything organized by using ChatGPT and those other types of tools. Not so much for imagery, but more for research and writing and ideation and brainstorming and organization. Okay, that's what that type of tool is going to be used for. Not so much the pictures because they are awful. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about here is Medi. And I have had Mariah on the podcast. If you want to check out that episode, it's, I want to say from December of last year, maybe November, December. But Mariah is wonderful, and her program is called Medi. And I don't sell furniture. Okay. Unless if it's, my white label stuff or my print on demand stuff. I don't generally sell furniture or Daniel House Club. But I don't I work virtually and I've got a lot going on. So I don't want to be maintaining orders and all that stuff for months out. Like, it's just not something that I have ever wanted to do, especially coming out of the furniture industry where I'm like just scarred at people screaming at me. I think that's like my underlying issue, where people would just call and yell forever. And maybe also why I don't like to talk on the phone now. But what Medi does, if I was doing furniture and I tell all my friends and designers about it, is it basically goes into your inbox, looks for purchase orders or order receipts, and consolidates all that information automatically to an updating system. So listen to the podcast episode. She'll go into it more, but we're basically like, it's acting as your assistant that's tracking every product, telling you the timeline, the estimates, has it shipped, has it been delivered, has it been checked in, like it's looking at your emails. Now, if there's something that has not processed and it's showing on, in the database that it should be shipping in like 2 days, but we haven't received any updates as to like, is it really going to? There is an AI assistant built in that would act as a human, act as your assistant. I think his name is like Todd or something. I can't remember. I'd have to ask her. But it sends an email on your behalf, like through your email as an assistant, and is like, hey, just checking in on the status of this order. But it emails to the proper person. So whoever is in charge from that company of purchase orders or orders, and it does the follow-up for you and then updates the back end. You can send these lists to contractors, to clients, to show only, like you can separate them out as views, very similar to MyDoma, where like this person can see this, they get an automatic update every Friday, and they know exactly where they're at with all the products in their stuff. What a game changer. Like, right? Like if you now are like in that ordering phase and the procurement and all of that stuff, like this just cuts out on hours of work. I mean, this can help if you have a procurement specialist, this would help them to do their job even better. So check it out. Go listen to that episode. I hope to see Mariah again soon. Poor thing was in Vegas, but got sick and didn't end up being able to meet up with us at the Las Vegas market event. So I hope to see her at KBIS. Right, I'll be reaching out to you after this, I guess, to see what's up, but check it out. So that right now is the process, okay? That is where and when not, I am using AI or would use AI during the design phase. Okay. And of course, every part of this is adaptable, but I think a lot of the things that I mentioned today really could work with a lot of what you guys are doing, whether it's taking sketches and making them look real for a product prototype or for a whole room, taking renders and upgrading them and making them look so hyper realistic they could potentially be in a magazine, to onboarding and all of that stuff. There's so many things we could talk about, guys. I hope you join me in the daily trainings. This will be releasing with the app version very, very soon. But if you're in the program now, you have access to all of the trainings. So Monday through Friday, I release a one topic training for that week. And then you get a 30, they were supposed to be 20 minutes, but they're about 30 for some of them, minute or less. Every day, every Monday through Friday, you get a training delivered to your portal. Okay, soon it'll be in the app portal and you can search them better. But all of those, you have access to the daily stuff coming out Monday through Friday now and the entire library. And it's $147 a month right now. Okay, so that library has probably close to like 50 hours of AI training. So whatever you want to learn about, we probably already talked about it at some point since October when I launched this program. Highly recommend you check it out. I'll link it below. But really, really fun updates coming for that program once the app launches. And everybody in the program now will be in the beta, so they'll get to be on the social media part of that first and give me their feedback, which I really listen to. Like I meet with our daily group every month for a 1 hour session just for Q&A. And they ask questions about the training, about AI, about all that stuff. And I ask questions about how to make my program better because AI is the Wild West, right? Like there are a million things we could talk about. And my job is to save you time and money and make your life just more efficient, but also not override the things that make you and your business unique. Okay. So that's what this is all about. It's not replacing, it is just simply enhancing. I've been saying it since before AI started saying it, which now AI is writing that for everybody. So I'm like, okay, got to change up my game. Can't be saying that anymore. All right. that's it for today. Hope that was helpful. I will be in KBIS in like 2 weeks, so I honestly probably won't release a episode that week, just because I'm going to be there from Monday to Friday. And I release these now on Fridays because hopefully you can listen to them over the weekend, or start your day with it on Monday. But yeah, that's where we're at. So have a great day, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me.